This is not a media creation. Geraldo Perdomo as the team leader, look, he stepped up, he made a statement. He was undoubtedly the leader of this team before he did that. Mm-hmm. It's even fortified now.
Yeah.
But how about a closed-door meeting with your teammates? Whoever's talking to the press, shut up. We're concentrating on playing baseball. That's one of the lingering questions I have.
Without a doubt. And again, this is the whole thing, too, because you mentioned the timing. There are a lot of people who blame Nick Picorro for popping this story and dropping this story right when things were going good for the Diamondbacks. But when you cover a team and you're committed to journalism and you're presented with this information, the timing is irrelevant because the timing has already happened. These events have already happened. I heard Burns and Gambo ask Torey Lovullo a question during their great interview on Friday. Do you need to address the team? The time for that has already passed. These events have already happened. The impact on the team has already happened. These agitated players have already been agitated. So the idea that this is our fault that we created this, obviously I take great exception to it. And once again, I just think that if you were a true Diamondbacks fan, you would want this context. The idea that a player as good as Ketel Marte is, who when he plays, he's generally among the best players in the sport.
Here's the thing: you're trying to chase Ketel Marte out of town. Damn you, media! Why would you do that to such a good player? Nobody's trying to chase anybody out of town. This again, there's a commitment to journalism by the people involved in writing these stories. I don't want Ketel Marte to get traded. He's the best second baseman of baseball, and it's not particularly close. What I do want is for the team that I root for and the team that I've rooted for since 1998, if they're pursuing something, to have the best players available on a regular basis.
That's it.
And yesterday, for Geraldo Perdomo to make that claim, he just wants to play baseball, on a day that he didn't play baseball until the 8th inning, was kind of ironic to me.
No, I know. And the idea that he makes the last out of the game with runners on base and a weak pop-up, and Geraldo Perdomo implies this is all too much for him. This, to me, internally, you see why now that this is such an issue. And for the people who just don't get why this is important, can you imagine being on a sports team that was pursuing something very valuable, and right when you're near the end of achieving that goal, one of your best players says, I ain't feeling it today? Can you imagine what that would feel like inside your group? Forget the media. Take the media out of this. If you're a sports fan, you shouldn't have a hard time understanding why this story is important inside the clubhouse and why this isn't a media-driven narrative. And if you're really looking for the predatory people, look to the people online who are populists, who are posting and putting opinions out there now based on the way you are reacting, based on the way you in your anger are lashing out at the media. The populists who are out there fueling your hate because they see that that's where they can. That's the predatory part in all of this. So I would just say, yes, I totally agree. This is not the greatest time for this to be happening to this baseball team, but this is something that has been brewing since the end of the year last year when it was a huge deal, and we covered it, and we talked about it, and we explained it. And if you're a baseball fan, you should understand why that's a big deal. I get Ketel Marte is lovable. I've loved him as much as anybody. And I can prove it. I can lay out 15 columns I've written about Ketel Marte, gushing about him. So there's no hating going on here. There's covering a story. That's what's going on here.
Well, one of the lingering questions I have from, again, this is not an invention, a media invention. There's conversations, there's been vetting, there's been sources that have been vetted on this before it ever sees the light of day. Mm-hmm. What I can't understand is why anybody in the Diamondbacks organization, outside of frustration, would want this out there publicly. Why has there been so much grumbling publicly? I mean, Bob Nightingale called it the worst kept secret in baseball. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because a lot of these players, now I won't say a lot, but a fair amount have felt betrayed by this. They're chasing something, and Ketel Marte is one of their best players, and they need him.
Yes.
Seriously, think about that. You ask off on a Sunday before the All-Star game, and then the line in Nick Picorro's story about teammates bothered because he was motoring around the bases. Mm-hmm. That's a direct insight into how the clubhouse is feeling, what the culture is feeling. And then I ain't going to be back on Friday, maybe not on Saturday. And this was even before he knew his house was robbed. And people have to get that fact straight in their heads. So look, so what this says to me. So Bob Nightingale says the Diamondbacks are going to listen to trade offers. Gambo reported that he doubts he's going to get dealt because you don't just trade a great player like Ketel Marte. This to me tells me that if I had to forecast the future, I would say this is going to mark the end of Torey Lovullo. If you're going to make a statement that Ketel Marte is coming back, but there's no more coddling, then you're going to have a different manager.
But look, Ketel Marte's how old? 31? Going into his later 30s?
Mm-hmm.
Bodies don't tend to get better.
No.
More resilient.
No, that's exactly right, which is why the idea of him being traded, I think, is a possibility. And so, look, it's all happening. I'm sorry if this truth is inconvenient for a lot of people, but it's don't hate on reporters who are doing their job.
This is a classic case of the masses killing the messenger.
Yeah, exactly. And I get it. It's because Ketel Marte is lovable. You've often drawn the parallel to Bradley Beal, who's not lovable. Bradley Beal and his lack of availability treated much differently in terms of perception.
Well, I mean, Bradley Beal never played on a Suns team that went to the finals.
Well,
never was an all-star as a Phoenix Sun. I get that. But look, there's historic examples here. Scottie Pippen's a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest players of all time. You know what still follows him around? Tapping out of the game when he found out that the last play wasn't going to be designed for him, or the migraine headache.
Yep,
Anthony Richardson of the Indianapolis Colts. I don't know what his career is going to become. He's always going to be dogged by what he did last year.
Yep.
Jay Cutler.
I needed to come out of the game. Jay Cutler, NFC Championship game. All those things.
Yeah, it's very, very true.
If you're in the Arizona media, you're either a homer or a hater.
Yeah,
that's
what
people think.
Well, that part of the frustration is, being in the seat that I'm in. I'm not a newsbreaker. I react, I inform, I entertain, I opine. That's what I do for a job. But this fluctuation when it's convenient for the masses again to accuse you of being soft Phoenix media, or you're being too hard on them. You're chasing them out of town. You can't have it both ways.
No, and you cannot say that we're clueless idiots and spew vile bilious, is that a word? Insults, and then assume we have that much power, right? I mean, it's one or the other. Either we're clueless idiots or we're omnipotent, super powerful entities that can get players out of town. It's crazy, man.
Bickley was hard on Ketel Marte, so the Diamondbacks are going to trade him in the offseason. That's how this works.
That's right.
Dan Bickley broke up the Suns. Didn't you know that?
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
It was all you.
Dan Bickley got run out of Chicago. Dan Bickley's not from here. He's been here 28 years, but he's not from here.
Have you seen his hair?
Like these have you seen his hair?
So many of us are from here.
Thanks for watching Bickley and Marotta. Click to see the latest Bickley Blast and hit the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.